Gauranga. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yasoda Nandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yasoda Nandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yasoda Nandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Radha Girari Radha Girari Radhe. Jai Radha Girari Radha Girari Radhe. Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jam Vishpad Paramahamsa Pravajikacharya Sotara Satashi Shimade Si Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Iskan founder Chaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jam Vishpad Paramahamsa Pravajikacharya Sotara Satashi Shimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Jam Vishpad Paramahamsa Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babiji Maharaj ki jai. Jam Vishpad Paramahamsa Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Jam Vishpad Paramahamsa Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhugan Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Gir Govardhana Ki Jai. Prajabhumi Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi. Our glories to the assembled devotees. Our glories to the assembled devotees. Our glories to the assembled devotees. Our glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, Prabhu. You have an announcement? Need a microphone? It's in regular chanting mode? Okay. Hare Krishna. So this
if you have a noise problem, then you can use the brown mic, the new microphone. If you have a noise problem by any chance.
It wasn't working previously. Let's see if it's working now. Which one?
Hare Krishna.
Loud and clear. Getting to, okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're getting to hear from the 5th canto, the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata in chapter 1, text number 39. Tasya ha va ete shloka. Tasya ha va ete shloka. Priyavrata kritam karma. Priyavrata kritam karma. Ko nu kuryad vineshwaram. Ko nu karyad vineshwaram. Yo nimi nimar akoroch. Yo nemi ninar akoroch. Chayam Gyan. How do you say it? Ganan Sapta Varidin. Chayam Ganan Sapta Varidin. Tasya hava iti shloka. Priyavrata kritam karma. Konu karya niveshwaram. Yonemi nirnaya akaroch. Chayam ginan saptavaridin. Tasya hava iti shloka Priyavrata kritam karma Konu karyad vineshwaram Yonemi nirnaya akaroch Chayam yana saptavaridin That's what you get for coming late. Govindavaya Geshanam. Tasya va eti shloka Priyavrata kritam karma No kuyad vineshwaram Yone me nimnar akaroch Chayam ganad saptam redim. All right. Tasya his ha va, certainly. Ete, all these. Shlokaha, verses. Priyavrata, by King Priyavrata. Kritam, done. Karma, activities. Kaha, who? Nu, then. Kuryat, can execute. Vina, without. Ishvaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yah, one who. Nami, of the rim of the wheels of his chariot. Nimnai, by the depressions. Akarot, made. Chayam, darkness. Gnan, dissipating. Sapta, 7. Varadin, oceans. There are many famous verses regarding Maharaj Priyavrata's activities. No one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead could do what Maharaj Priyavrata has done. Maharaj Priyavrata dissipated the darkness of night, and with the rims of his great chariot, he excavated 7 oceans. Purport. There are many excellent verses, famous all over the world, concerning the activities of Maharaj Priyavrata. He's so celebrated. His activities are compared to those of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sometimes a sincere servant and devotee of the Lord is also called Bhagavan. Sri Narada is called Bhagavan. Lord Shiva and Vyasadeva are also sometimes called Bhagavan. This designation, Bhagavan, is sometimes conferred upon a pure devotee by the grace of the Lord, so that he will be highly esteemed. Maharaj Priyavrata was such a devotee. really could use some help here. If we could pray sincerely, please. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shita Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Cha Hey Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopikakan Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakopa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Are you new at this? Yeah. Victoria, welcome. Did you get to read it? So, you must have liked it. Yeah? Wow. Thank you for joining us. There's so much potency in getting to hear the books like you have in the company of others who have given their lives to practicing the message and teachings found in those books. There's a verse by Narada Muni wherein he says, I'm not in Vaikuntha. This is the Lord speaking, Narayan. I'm not in Vaikuntha, which is the kingdom of God. I'm not in the heart of the yogis. And where is he? Got to be somewhere. He's wherever the devotees are gathered to hear and chant his glories. So this is very auspicious that you could join us. I'll try and explain things appropriately. And to hear. Yeah, it's so funny. On my phone in the database, this is what the verse said. And it's obviously short because we got the 7 oceans and everything like that. But just had the first line. There are many famous verses regarding Maharaj Priyavrata's activities, so kind of threw me for a loop. When I saw the second part, no one but the Supreme Personality of Godhead could do what Maharaj Priyavrata has done. Maharaj Priyavrata dissipated the darkness of night with the rims of his great chariot. He excavated 7 oceans. So, we hear in this verse that the Lord, Krishna, is addressed as Bhagavan. You'll find that in the Bhagavad Gita a lot. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. That's what makes it worthy of hearing. Because if anybody knows what's going on, it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Creator, the Maintainer, Destroyer of all the material universes, the Enjoyer, the Owner, and the best friend of all his part and parcel living entities. That's us. So Bhagavan means Bhaga, one who, Bhaga means opulences, Van, one who possesses. Krishna possesses everything. Janmadya yasya yataha. Why does he possess everything? Because everything comes from him. If you think there's anything separate from Krishna, that has some other origin, that there's something that's somehow or other not related to Krishna, that's called Maya. That which is not. It's an illusion. And when the ignorance, the illusion that is covering us is dispelled, where we can understand that we're part and parcel of Krishna, come from Krishna, are meant to serve Krishna. That's our identity and purpose. When we understand that, then everything else falls in place. Another important point about trying to understand Krishna or his creation, practically speaking, anything about Krishna, is that he is inconceivable. You're not going to capture, measure, understand Krishna completely with our tiny brain and intelligence, not by our best endeavors. It ain't going to happen. So how does the unlimited Lord become understood by the limited living entities, very tiny, insignificant living entities? By his mercy and revelation. And Srimad Bhagavatam is the spotless revelation of the unalloyed glories of Krishna. In fact, Jiva Goswami says the foundational verse of Bhagavatam is Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam ete chamsa palakun pumsa kala pumsa ete. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. The Lord has the ability to expand in unlimited expansions and expansions of his expansions. But Krishna is the original, supreme personality of Godhead. They're all one person, but he can expand unlimitedly, be anywhere and everywhere as he is, as he desires. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to be more in one place at one time? Krishna is everywhere. So we have to hear the spotless Srimad Bhagavatam very submissively. An adverb is used, ardently hearing. If we submit ourselves to the transcendental message, which cannot be understood unless God graces us with the understanding, if we hear it with the desire to understand and follow, to apply and follow, then that is very auspicious. So Rupa Goswami explains that Krishna, he manifests 100% of the qualities, traits of the Supreme Lord. His expansion, Narayan, four-handed form of Vishnu and Vaikuntha, he exhibits 94%. Lord Shiva, who's sometimes also called Bhagavan, he's not God, he's not a living entity, he's in between. Very unique personality. He can manifest 84% of the qualities of God. And all those qualities are listed in the Nectar of Devotion, a summary study by Srila Prabhupada of Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And us jivas, starting with Lord Brahma, who is also sometimes called Bhagavan, he can manifest up to 78% of the qualities of the Lord. Actually, you and I, if we develop our unalloyed love for Krishna like Priyavrata has, then we can manifest 78%. Even the scientists, the psychologists, I don't know who you want to use as an authority in this term, but they understand we're hardly tapping into the potential of the brain. They have that much understanding, and it's so true. But they have no clue how to do that. Sarvarganas tatra samasate saraha No, yashasti bhaktir bhagavati kinchana savargunas tatra samasate sara. If you'll engage in devotional service to the Lord, like Maharaj Priyavrata did, then all good qualities, the full potential can be manifest within the life, within the person of such a devotee. If one doesn't surrender unto Krishna, if one doesn't endeavor to please Krishna with one's words, one's activities, one's thoughts, then one remains very stunted, very limited and hobbled. So we hear submissively, there's a couple of references to things that Priyavrata did that only God could do, unless God gave that power to the person. I assume it's for agricultural purposes. If there's more sunlight, then you can have longer growing seasons. Interestingly enough, those who have been in the northern countries where the sun doesn't set certain times of year, you also don't sleep that much. Nice boon. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one should not sleep too much or sleep too little if one is serious about practicing the process of sadhana bhakti to become spontaneous in desiring and engaging in pleasing the Lord. But sleep is considered a waste of time. You have to sleep. It's torturous not to sleep. But those who are lovers of Krishna, they don't like it, and they don't look for happiness to be found in such sleep. They consider it almost like dying. Nothing wrong with dying. We're all going to do that. And the pure devotee is not afraid of dying. Krishna takes his hand and leads him to his next destination. Generally speaking, back to his kingdom. Unless the Lord has deputed him to repeatedly travel throughout the universe to share his message of devotional service. But those who are lovers of Krishna, they control their eating, their sleeping. At a certain point in life, as Maharaj Priyavrata has reached, there's no question of mating. He's given up his family. He's given up the responsibility of ruling his kingdom, which, let's go ahead and put out those mind-blowing descriptions. He's early on in the history of the universe. He was deputed to manage and oversee planets, not just a kingdom, some small country in one planet. This again is possible by the empowerment of the Lord. But he's done with it. He did his duty. And now he's getting back to where his heart was in the very beginning as a young man, having surrendered to Bhagavan Sri Narada and having been instructed in the science of surrendering unto Krishna. The day and age in which he lived millions and millions of years ago, another mind-blowing fact. The process was to meditate upon the Lord in the heart, and he had perfected that. He could see the Lord. Like one time a devotee, a person asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, is the Lord in your heart, the super soul, is he standing or sitting? Prabhupada closed his eyes for a moment. And it's a 50-50 because I don't really remember the exact answer he gave, but both of them are appropriate. He closed his eyes and he said, he's sitting. Premanjana Chirita Bhakti Velochanena Santa Sadaiva Radiation Lokyanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya. That word inconceivable. Achintya Guna Surupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamamajami. Such devotees who have been trained up and received the blessings of the representative of God, the Guru, the teacher. They see the Lord within their heart. They see the pastimes of the Lord that can take place within their heart as if you were watching Netflix. The activities of Krishna and his devotees. This is something to aspire for. So he's given up his responsibilities, but when he was ruling the kingdom, the sun, another mind-blowing fact given in the Bhagavatam, rotates around Sumeru mountain. Never heard of it, but anyway. The sun is not stationary as the mundane scientists speculate, as they assume. But Maharaj Priyavrata wasn't satisfied that, you get on this side of the mountain, then it's dark. You get on the other side, it's dark over there. He wanted to give light to everyone, all the time. So he got in a chariot, celestial chariot. We have no such vehicles in this crude age of Kali, mechanical, industrial, gross, dealing with the gross matter. A celestial chariot, which acted on the principles of subtle laws of the material nature. And by falling around, I guess you would say 180 degrees away from the sun and following the same path, he was able to, with his empowerment from Krishna, give light to the other side of the world. Now they're trying, and they are successfully playing with weather these days. I've been doing that for some decades, evidently. And of course, they're kind of like, what's the name of the son of Dronacharya? He knew how to create the Brahmastra, which is basically a focused nuclear weapon through subtle laws of chanting and invoking it. But he didn't know how to withdraw it. His knowledge was incomplete. So they're fumbling around trying. They create rain, or they create tornadoes, typhoons. I mean, there's some far out stuff out there. It's all going on. For the most part, unbeknownst to people. I remember some years ago in some northern country like we referred to, not getting very much sun, and they tried building some big, giant, reflective wall surrounding their city so that it would amplify the sun's rays to make it a little bit warmer or lighter. I'm not quite sure how that worked out. Or it says that with the wheels of his chariot, he what's the word? Excavated. I knew it wasn't that. He excavated 7 oceans surrounding the 7 varshes of Jambudweep. Something geography of the universe you won't be aware of till you've read on in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. He carved out oceans. How do you do that? They're still measuring or trying to go down to find out what's at the deepest depths of some of the canyons in the ocean. They don't know. We like to think, oh yeah, they know what's going on the planet. So many So much land and so much water, they don't know. But he was able to create oceans. Varieties of oceans. Might as well throw it out. I love it. We got a saltwater ocean. Nice for floating. But you can't drink it. There's an ocean where it's pure, saltless, nectarian, pure water. And there's other substances also. Krishna's creation is so far more variegated and inconceivable than we can imagine from this tiny little point on a dirt clod we call Earth, trying to understand and look out to see what else is going on. But the Bhagavatam reveals it. But with a purpose, simply to bring us back to understand our eternal relationship with Krishna, and that we're not meant to be here. We're meant to eternally live with the Lord and His devotees in His kingdom. So we listen attentively, ardently, to the descriptions of the qualities and the activities of these great souls, these pure servants of God, so that we might emulate them. We might follow their examples. We can't imitate. Good God. You have to be empowered. Bhagavan, Maharaj, Priyavrata. You have to be empowered. But that empowerment is possible if you have the desire, the strongest desire. I mean, they're having the Olympics now. I think it's still going on. People involved in the Olympics, participating in it as athletes, they have significantly dedicated the greatest portion of their lives to perfect some athletic ability, to become the gold medalist. The real gold medal in life is to become an unalloyed, pure devotee of Krishna, a loving servant of Krishna. Takes great focus, takes sincerity, takes seriousness. That's why we have to be educated by hearing these activities of the great devotees. They've shown the way, and we just have to follow. So does anybody know any of the verses that are glorifying Maharaj Priyavrata discussed in assemblies around the universe? Got any Priyavrata shlokas up your sleeve? No, me either. But there's a verse in the 7th canto describing Prahlad Maharaj, who is another exalted, pure Vaishnava servant of the Lord. Shukadev Goswami told Maharaj Parikshit, "O king," is this Maharaj Parikshit? Sorry. Or is Yudhishthira hearing the tale? Who's hearing Prahlad's glories, Hiranyakashipu? Who is it? I thought it was Yudhishthira. Because he asked, how in the world would a father try to kill his son? So that's another story entirely. But in text number 34, chapter 4, 7th canto, O king, Prahlad Maharaj's good qualities are still glorified by learned saints and Vaishnavas. As all good qualities are always found existing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they also exist forever in His devotee. Are you starting to see a theme here? The qualities of the Lord manifest in the lives of the devotee. His qualities become their qualities by His mercy. Oh, how we want His mercy. By hearing of how wonderful life can be, to actually taste and relish what love is, as can only be found in reciprocating with Krishna in fullness. Once one has that down, then one becomes a lover of everyone and everything, because they know everything is dear to Krishna. Certainly everyone is dear to Krishna. Oh, how we should yearn for acquiring that which is within us and simply covered over because of the distractions of the illusion we've embraced for such a long time. So Bhagavan, different devotees have been called Bhagavan. It's rare. It's actually a title for God, for Krishna. And you don't hear it brandied about these days. But from the time of the 6 Goswamis, you start to hear the very honorable title of Prabhupada. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, Srila Sanatana Goswami Prabhupada, Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada. As is Srila Prabhupada's teacher is addressed, as Srila Prabhupada is addressed by his loving followers. There was a nice pastime. In the beginning of the movement, Prabhupada was known as Swamiji. And Govinda Dasi was with Srila Prabhupada in his room. She was serving him, her and her husband, personal servants, cooking, etc., seeing to his comforts as he translated the Srimad Bhagavatam and preached Krishna consciousness. He said, Swamiji, blah, 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 blah. And Prabhupada instructed her, actually this term Swamiji is not so first class. Then what should we call you, Swamiji? What should we call you? And he gave her 3 options, isn't it? Anybody remember the pastime in detail? 3 options. And I'm not going to speculate because it slipped. Please, Balaram.
Guru Maharaj,
I thought that was one.
Guru Dev, and Prabhupada.
Guru Maharaj, Guru Dev, and Prabhupada. And she asked, well, which one is the best of the 3? He said, Prabhupada. She said, well, then we'll call you Srila Prabhupada from now on. And by her influence, Govinda Dasi is a very strong-willed Vaishnavi. By her influence, she got everybody on board. Srila Prabhupada from now on is going to be called Srila Prabhupada. Swamiji is not so first class. It was one of the turning points in our movement, you could say. Because as the movement grew and grew, Srila Prabhupada took on more and more the mantle of the world teacher. Although he always felt himself the humble servant of everyone, disciples and all others, he accepted the responsibility and as such did miracles by the mercy of Krishna. So, I was going to read qualities of Maharaj Prahlad because they would be the same kind of qualities that Maharaj Priyavrata had. But I think I'm going to try and see if there's any discussion or questions from the internet and our assembly of devotees here, or Victoria, if you have anything. Okay, seniority is the etiquette.
Yeah, just
Dravida Prabhu.
I just thought of something, and I think you'll appreciate it. How it seems like one of the most amazing things. The first verse is about his creating that other sun and bringing light everywhere, and as you mentioned, it undoubtedly would increase the agricultural abilities. So that's, that's supernatural. Who can create another sun like that?
Impossible.
But Prabhupada, who was undoubtedly equally empowered, or more, I was just realizing Krishna Sudama Upakate Dharma Jnana Visaha Kalonach Dishamesha Puranako Vinodita, that the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna returned to his kingdom, taking with him Dharma and Gyan, the Srimad Bhagavatam arose just like the sun to bring light to this benighted world. And Srila Prabhupada, through his great effort, he took the Bhagavatam first to America, and then he kept, translating it into all these different languages, and now it's all over the world, and the sun of the Srimad Bhagavatam is shining everywhere. What do you think?
I certainly appreciate that. Dang, I wish I had had that realization. When we hear the realizations and see the services of the devotees, unlike outside in society, we don't become envious. We become inspired. Gosh, let me try harder to understand the glories of Srila Prabhupada and the Bhagavatam. Let me try harder to perform the services that I have so that I can please Guru and Gauranga, Guru and Krishna the way these Prabhus are. Balaram.
Srila Prabhupada, he mentions how in his books he says sometimes about sleep. He says one should sleep 6 hours. And then there's some conversation where Srila Prabhupada would say, 6 hours at night, 1 hour during the day, something like that, that's fine. So you mentioned about conquering sleep, and so in relation to conquering sleep, should devotees feel like a need to reduce their sleep over time, over years? Because we see that Srila Prabhupada, he didn't sleep much, and of course Srila Prabhupada, and you have the 6 Goswamis and so on. But in terms of conquering it, in terms of reducing it, maybe you could comment on that.
Okay, that's a very good, almost a little bit challenging question for my meager realizations. But first of all, we should give the absolute answer and say yes. Because that's what all the previous acharyas, that's what the Goswamis did. Even among followers of Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktitirtha Swami, he strenuously, very, how would you say, with such determination, restricted his eating, restricted his sleeping. But we're not biting the leather and going through the pain of austerities. That's not our process. The way you give up something of lesser value is you replace it with something of greater value. When one is relishing reciprocation with Krishna and service, why would you want to forget it for some period of time? Why would you want it to stop? So the common nature of new devotees, fired up, enthusiastic devotees, they try to take steps the magnitude of Lord Vamanadeva, Trivikram. He covered the entire universe with 2 steps. An incarnation of the Lord. You have to be practical. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says we should be endeavoring to advance. Daily we should be evaluating, how did I do today? At the end of the day, how did I do? I could have done better here. Wasn't so nice to that devotee. I could have spent my time better, etc. Not wasting it. So you evaluate, and when you are solidly situated, there are levels of devotional service. The science is given, and one should know where one's situated. And when you're solidly situated in your realizations and levels of Krishna consciousness, then you should endeavor to take a step. Not jump with both feet, but take a step and start pushing, start praying, start endeavoring, start utilizing your time more productively than simply sleeping. And it's all related. If you eat too much, you're going to sleep too much. If you eat late at night, it's going to disturb your sleep, and it may produce dreams you're not desiring to have. The devotees like Rupa Goswami, like Srila Prabhupada, all these great devotees, when they would restrict their sleeping, Prabhupada would sleep for 3-4 hours a night, max, and even less and less as time went on, because he would get up. He said, I couldn't help but get up to write, to translate, to give the commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. I couldn't help it. He was driven. It was all consuming, that desire for him. So it was very easy for him to give up sleep. And then when he did sleep, or when any pure devotee does sleep, they're not in ignorance like you and I. They're thinking of preaching, they're thinking of Krishna, they're thinking of their services. I saw that personally with Srila Prabhupada. I was there one morning when he woke up and immediately began preaching to Tamal Krishna Maharaj. I've told the pastime enough times, I won't repeat it here. You want me to repeat it? Me and a devotee named Manidhar snuck past the guards. You're not allowed in Prabhupada's room. Who are you? So one morning, Srila Prabhupada, it was hot season in Vrindavan. He was basically in the last months of his manifest pastimes. Not that book distributor, but I'm going to take a quick one-liner. It was what do you call those questions? A rhetorical question. Do we consider Manidhar crazy, or was he an empowered devotee? The answer to the top book distributor of the world at the time, who acted erratically and even crazily, is he was empowered. Empowered devotees, they act in ways that are completely incomprehensible to those who are way below them in their determined surrender. That's a fact. The advanced devotees are often, we use the term, ahead of their time. Or sometimes we hear these descriptions of the total absorption of the devotees in the ecstatic emotional reciprocations with the Lord, that they could care less what anybody and everybody else thinks. They'll be singing, they'll be dancing, they'll be doing this or that, one-on-one with Krishna, and oblivious to anything or not caring about the opinions of others. So anyway, a little tangent there, but I just thought it was worth mentioning because it didn't really get sufficiently highlighted, in my opinion. You don't become the greatest example of book distributor for some time without receiving the empowerment of the Lord, of Guru and the Lord. So anyway, we snuck past Tamal Krishna Maharaj and the other servants. We were up on his roof, and we were waiting. Sun was coming up. Prabhupada was on his bed in his mosquito net. We're off in a little corner there, and he had a bell. He was lying down, and he rang the bell. Immediately, Tamal Krishna Maharaj ran in. First thing he notices, maybe the first, but he notices us. Gives us a look like, what in the heck you doing here? But he helped Srila Prabhupada sit up, and immediately Prabhupada said, you should go to the West and ask people, do you want to grow old? No, you're forced to grow old. You think I want to grow old? No. And forcefully, immediately upon opening his eyes and sitting up, he's preaching what he had been absorbed in thoughts of while asleep. This is pure consciousness, unconditioned by material energy or the modes of material nature. So such devotees, they minimize their sleep, but even in their sleep, they will continue rendering service to the Lord. So, step by step. But yes, it is a good idea. It's a good idea. Just don't overdo it, because it's so easy to rubber band or become proud. I'm performing such austerities. Look at them sleeping. Or you get up early, earlier than everybody else, and then you sleep in Bhagavatam. These things happen sometimes. What is that? Is that the program chalked out by the previous acharyas? Or is that the fertile how do you say? Fertile, what's the word for it? The fertile, the results of my fertile, speculative mind. No offense intended, but if the shoe fits, please recognize it and take it off. Join us in Srimad Bhagavatam if humanly possible, please. Any other questions? Victoria, you have any thoughts? Did anything resonate with you? Pick one thing then. Oh, give her a microphone. I'm sorry. There's a devotees listening online.
I definitely can resonate with the sleeping patterns that we're talking about. Sleeping patterns that we're talking about right now. Throughout my life, it's been interesting. I have been reducing my sleep naturally, without even knowing about these teachings. And it was to the point that one scientific friend told me that she was astral projecting in her sleep. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I asked her more about it, and all of a sudden I became angry. And I didn't know where this anger was coming from, but I was like, why are you wasting your time in the other realms when there's so much to be done here? And I'm like, where are these thoughts coming from? And then all of a sudden, like you were saying, as soon as you wake up, you have these thoughts, and you know what exactly you're supposed to do for the rest of the day, or even if you don't, you know you're going to be led through it. And you have faith that you're being led the right way. And you're being, I can honestly relate that you're even being given messages in the time of REM sleep state, perhaps. And a lot of times I feel like I don't even go into that. It's just information being downloaded constantly in my brain.
There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that the devotee who's been practicing from previous lives automatically takes up the principles of devotional service. Automatically. They're automatically drawn to them. So it will not be surprising if some of these things that you may have experienced and practiced and benefited from are going to begin to manifest more and more in your life. And they will exponentially increase the more you associate with the devotees and continue studying the books and cultivate relationships so that you have friendship and inspiration, like-minded people. But yeah, the goal is surrender to Krishna, and you can certainly do a lot more for helping others in service to Krishna when you're awake than when sleeping.
Well, honestly, if you think about it, a lot of people these days who are getting into the astral planes and physics that way, they're doing it for their own benefit. They're not going there to help other
How's that for
places.
Shastra?
They are literally just seeking something for themselves. And I can say this because I've personally done it before.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Yes, I have been going through the process of what am I supposed to seek?
And that's the apparent contradiction, that as long as we endeavor to satisfy ourselves, our desire is to satisfy ourselves, we're never going to be satisfied. Only in selfless surrender and service to Krishna, wanting to satisfy Him, do we become completely satisfied. If you water the root of a tree, then the whole tree, fruit, branches, leaves, etc., benefits, is nourished. So we have to go to the root. We have to go to our source, Krishna. And if we endeavor to please Him selflessly, then we will be completely satisfied. Anything in any other process, any other activity, it will have selfishness at the root. That's a verse. What's that verse? That Bengali. That only by bhakti, not by jnana karma. Shanta, Shanti. You need a microphone.
Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataeva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashanta. That the devotee of Krishna, because he's free of all selfish desires, is peaceful. Whereas those who are ordinary people, just wanting sense gratification, or those who are meditators wanting some yogic siddhis, or those who simply want liberation, freedom from all birth, death, old age, and disease, they're never satisfied because they want something for themselves. Never peaceful.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing, Victoria. It was very nice. What's that? Why? How time flies when you're having fun. Oh, that's nice. Prabhus, thank you for your association, for your attentiveness and your patience. Srila Prabhupada ke, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ke, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki.